Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maria. I am the Behavioral and Training Coordinator at the Humane Society here. And this week is actually National Fight Prevention Week. So I thought I'd go over a couple of tips how to keep yourself and your children safe, as well as respecting boundaries with your own dog. So according to the CDC, on average, there is over 4 million dog bites in the United States annually, and approximately 800,000 of them require medical attention. And they come from dogs of all walks of life, breeds, temperament, but it is all about respecting the dog's boundary as well. So we'll go over that today. First of all, I'd like to go over some tips if you do see a dog running or if your own dog gets out. A lot of people will actually chase a dog, try to coax a dog, and a lot of times these dogs, when they get out of the house or they get away from their handlers or their owner, at first they are excited, but after that they realize, hey, I'm not really supposed to be off leash, and they start to get stressed and scared, and they don't really know what to do. So the easiest way, if you do see a dog that is roaming around, or if your dog gets out, is to never chase. It could become a game, otherwise it makes them more nervous, but you should always open a car door. I've helped a lot of different people when their dogs get out of the dog park, or my dogs actually got out once, but all I did was open a car door, recall them, and they got in the car. Most of the time, dogs have a positive association with the vehicle, and they assume that they are going to be going for a ride. So that would be a good tip on the side. Next, I'd like to go over dogs in home. A dog should always have the ability to leave. If you have small children or you have visitors, they should always have their own safe space. People and children need to respect a dog's boundaries and their safe space. So if a dog retreats to its kennel, or I have a Great Dane, and she likes to sleep in a closet. She has her own closet. So if they retreat there, it's always their safe spot, and they're letting us know that they would like some distance. So a child always needs to respect that, or a person. Children, when they're out, they should always ask an owner to pet a dog. That should be one of the first things that a child should be taught, as well as if a child sees a dog behind a fence, they should never approach the dog, stick their hands or any appendages underneath the fence, as well as a vehicle. Sometimes owners leave their dogs in the spring, summer, in a vehicle with, partially windows down, and people have a tendency to go pet the dog. So that should always be, it is always ill-advised. The next thing would be a lot of people like to hug dogs, and you have the occasional dog that is pretty great and they don't mind hugging, but most of all, dogs do not like hugging. So I would work with your children or other members in your household about hugging. The proper way that I always guide people in petting a dog, and again, that's dependent on the dog, is petting on the chest area or underneath the chin. A lot of dogs don't like to be petted, pet on the head as well. So I always advise people the best way, if you don't know the dog and confidence level of the dog, is to pet underneath their chin. What else? So if you don't know a dog or your own dog, I always discourage rough play. Especially where there's children that are running around. It can overstimulate the dog, and that will cause biting sometimes, nipping. They don't really understand when a game stops. So I always discourage, getting a dog too overstimulated. Now we will go over some body language. If you are out and about on a walk, the first thing that I have to tell everybody is you never run, because I can guarantee you, unless you're an Olympic runner, you will not outrun a dog. I don't care. You will not outrun a dog. And what you're doing is you are kicking a dog's prey drive in. And that predatory shift, they either think it's a game or they actually will shift over and chase you, especially children because they're smaller. And we discourage that. So you never want to run. Let's talk about body language. Let's say you're out and about on a walk or your child is walking home and a dog starts to walk up. Again, a lot of these times, these dogs are looking for guidance. They know they're not supposed to be out. But for all safety measures, if you're out on a walk, I would highly recommend sometimes either having a baby food jar with pennies in it and you're shaking it loudly. That sometimes works. I also recommend high value treat items like cheese and meat, little bits about the size of your fingernail. And if you have those, because you're training your dog as well, a lot of times if you actually hold them in your hand and you toss all of them out onto grass or something, the dog will stop what it's doing and be more engaged in finding those instead. So the higher the value of the food item, cheese, etc., the more inclined the dog is to lose focus on you and your dog and go for the food instead. We'll go over some body language now. When a dog walks up to you or your child, the tense are the body and the tail. If the tail is erect, slowly wagging, that would be an indicator that there could be some nervousness, stress level there. The looser a dog's body is, the calmer and less stressed he is. Look for the ears. Are the ears kind of flattened against the head? Is the dog yawning? Is it licking its lips a lot when it's looking at you? Dogs, when they are focused on a person, they do what's called a hard stare. Most of the time, dogs' eyes are almond shaped, but when they are hard staring and focused on you, they have certain indicators where the wider their eyes, the more stress they have. So the other thing I would caution too is if you see a dog drooling or foaming at the mouth, that is usually an indicator of stress. Depending on the temperature, time of year, the activity, the foaming could be also from strenuous exercise, from running, but most of the time, the drooling and possible foaming at the mouth is stress related because they are panting and they are upset and they are nervous. A panting dog is a stressed dog most of the time. If a dog does approach you and you obviously do not carry treats on you, not everybody does all the time, you never want to crouch down and put your face in front of the dogs. You never want to, I've had people that I've seen lie on the ground. You don't really want to do that either. But what I recommend is actually standing to the side and looking down. And if you have a child that you're teaching this to, they should just stand very still. Do not address the dog. Do not stare or look at the dog. And they should be counting something on the ground like rocks, or they can count if they know how to count to 20, and just ignoring the dog. And most of the time, the dog is assessing the situation and doesn't want problems and will leave. If it does not seem like the dog is leaving and you do feel that the dog will actually crouch down a little bit, getting ready to bite, you always want to have if you have something, you always want to have a jacket, or you want to have a backpack or purse or just something to try to put in front of you and the dog. If you are knocked to the ground, especially a child, they should curl up into a ball and cover their heads. I believe they do that with tornado drills. I don't know. But they should cover their head up and their neck area as much as possible and make themselves as small as possible. Never lie flat, like I said earlier. The other thing I've seen people do is there's been bite instances because people will take a stick and wield it against a dog, and you're automatically, putting that dog in fight mode because, you're wielding a weapon at a dog. So as much as possible, please do not use a stick or something that would put that dog into fight mode. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to give us a call or email, and we look forward to hearing from any of you who have other tips, other great things. Have a great day.